Welcome to the Future of Real Estate. I'm Brett Ellis of the Ellis team at RE/MAX Realty Group. I'm joined today by my mother, Sandy Ellis. Sandy, we were just at the 5-star REO Short Sale Summit this last week and learned a lot of interesting things. One of the reasons we signed up for that is 5-Star Institute is one of the premier education places for both banks, asset managers, appraisers, and real estate agents in terms of what's going on and how banks are disposing of properties. But we really got into a nice collaborative discussion on short sales and REOs and kind of where the overall industry is going.
Right, and I think it's critically important, Brett, for both the buyer and the seller that you're working with, too, that an agent have that kind of experience and knowledge. You know, in the past, we always talked about the CDPE designation, and that's sort of like the beginning. You know, for us, that's the first designation that we got in REOs and short sales, and now the 5-Star Summit is just one step or maybe 4 more steps beyond that.
Well, I want to get into some of the things we learned at the summit, but I saw an article that talks about, it just came out this week. The TransUnion said that they track customers that are behind or delinquent on their mortgage payments.
Right.
And those that are at least 60 days delinquent have risen now to 6.89%, and it's been going up precipitously. It was at 6.25 in the third quarter of 2009 and 4.58 in the final quarter of 2008. So you can see it going from 4.58 to 6.25 to now 6.89, and that's
What's so important about that, though, Brett, is that it's kind of becomes a point of no return. You know, once people get that far behind on their mortgage, chances are they're not saving that money that, you know, they're not able to save it. They weren't able to make the payment. So they've used that money for other necessities, maybe food and groceries and utilities, and they're not saving that money.
Statistics
So they
bear
can't
that out.
catch up.
Once you go 30 days behind, if you didn't have the month payment the first time, you're not going to have the 2 months and the late fees the second time. And if you go 60 days, you're not going to have 3 months payments, the late fees, penalties, and all of that. So, you know, and I think one of the things that came out of this 5-star conference was that they've been speaking with banks, and banks have basically said, okay, 2009 was the year of home retention. They followed the Obama plan. They thought they would try to keep people in their homes. What they're realizing is that's not working. That's exacerbating the problem. And what they need to do is get back to banks collecting their money, because when you put people further behind, you're not helping them.
No, you're not helping
And
them
you're
at
not
all.
helping the market. You're making the market worse. And when you've got foreclosures that are really tying up the market and they're not being resold to somebody, you've got grass growing, you've got vacancy, you've got crime, you've got nothing good happens. We've
Nothing
talked
good
about
happens.
that.
That's correct. And, you know, the other side of that is we've been getting conflicting statements in the media from various banker associations, that kind of thing. So on one hand, you'll read an article and it'll say something like, oh, the crisis is almost over. It's the beginning of the end.
But it's not almost over.
But it's not.
One of
That's
the things they
correct.
brought up is a couple things, is that because of these moratoriums and whatnot, you've slowed down the process, but they're still coming. In fact, they're coming. You know, it's pent up, and it's on that supply side. You know, Dave Liniger, the founder of RE/MAX, testified before the 5-Star Institute a few weeks ago and said, and to Congress, release this inventory, because if you don't, we've got a shortage in our State of the Market report came out last week. We've got less than a 5-month supply in that $0 to $100,000 price range. If these things are going to come to market, release them so that these buyers have a chance at buying them, and we'll get an actual owner or renter living in the home as opposed to a vacant home where nothing good happens.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. They also talked about shadow inventory, that there is a 33-month supply nationwide of inventory that has been foreclosed on and not yet released. If that's true, and I don't know that that's true, at least down here in Southwest Florida, but if that's true, you need to release those, because you can't. The Hunt brothers tried to corner the market. It doesn't work.
But, you know, Brett, if that's going to be true, it's going to be true in the states of Florida, probably Nevada, Arizona, Michigan. You know, if it's true anywhere, it's probably true here.
Could be, but I think Florida and California and
California is one of the worst.
Arizona
places, yeah.
has really been the forefront and gotten these foreclosures out there. So I'm
Well,
not sure
we've
it'll
been
be
at
the
the
worst.
forefront, but we've also been the epicenter of all these things that have happened. So
True.
there's more of that has happened here. So my guess is there's still more of that to come in this area.
Now, the other point that they brought up was, okay, they tried the home retention. Didn't work. 2010 and 2011 is going to be the year of the transaction. And by that, they mean we're either going to go to short sale or we're going through the foreclosure, and we're probably going to do both simultaneously until one or the other occurs, because the home retention did not work.
Well, and that's true. And I would say to homeowners out there that are in this situation, give us a call now. Probably now is the time for you to be proactive before you're reactive, before you're getting that letter from the bank that you need to move out. More things are going to happen. They're going to happen more quickly.
I think what we're also saying is there's going to be more foreclosures in 10, and really because of the backlog, they're saying it could actually be in 011. But there is time to do the short sale, and the banks are more than happy to do the short sale because they will lose less money on the short sale than they do taking it all the way through to foreclosure, and the property be in better condition, and everybody wins. So 2010, while they're going to continue that foreclosure track, that simultaneous track is going to be the short sales, and we've been getting a lot of short sales through lately.
Well, definitely we have, and there's supposed to be some more changes coming because of HAFTA in April. I think beginning like April 5th,
I think, yeah.
And so we're looking at that point in time maybe for some good and better things to come. The thing about it is that the homeowner that's been calling the bank has been getting differing not good responses. Sometimes it's like the left hand and the right hand don't know what they were doing. Remember last evening we were talking with a fraud investigator actually from one of the banks, and she actually confirmed for us that sometimes in the banks are so big, they have so many things going on that the right hand and the left hand don't know what's going on.
That's true, and that's another point that was brought up at this 5-Star Institute, that the short sale division is different than the REO division. And you can think, because I've gone out to some of these REOs and they said, well, I can't believe they foreclosed on me. I had a short sale approved.
Or I was working on a loan modification, Right. And
now,
sometimes
loan modifications,
they've actually gotten in their own way.
Loan modifications are not
processes.
Good. Loan modifications will stop a short sale.
They're not working. Yeah.
And we've had people get a short sale approved and then go in for a loan modification and they mess themselves up. So be careful.
And also, it's sometimes just a lack of understanding because somebody from the bank calls them and makes an attempt to make something work out with them. And the buyer doesn't know when they agree to that sometimes that they're agreeing to something that's actually going to mess them up.
And the banks are calling to try to get in it money. Even in the short sale process, if they could get 1 or 2 extra payments, they're trying anything.
Oh, absolutely.
Be careful what you do.
And again, it's because one side of the bank doesn't know what the other side of the bank is doing.
No, and that's why they said there are 2 completely different departments.
They're different, absolutely.
And agents were frustrated. They said, okay, I handled the short sale. You took it from me. Why don't you let me handle the REO? But they start a whole new process all over again.
It's a new process. Yeah, it's a different thing. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Anything else you took out of this conference? I know there's a lot of good stuff. Oh, why don't we go to the News Press article? Because we've got here some information we can share. We've got the latest numbers on the short sales and whatnot. So in the red here is Lehigh Acres. The green is Cape Coral and yellow is Fort Myers. And this is the total amount of distressed properties. And what you'll see here is that basically we've tracked November, December, and January of this year. And basically, Fort Myers has been tracking pretty even Steven, in fact, down a little bit. Lehigh Acres has been fairly, it went down from November, and now it's still hovering about 75%. Cape Coral's about 66%, up from about 63 and 64. I think you're going to start to see, depending on how many normal transactions there are, we may see more short sales going in 2010 if what we're hearing out of the 5-Star is correct. And if not, in 2011, we'll see more foreclosures.
Absolutely, yeah. So the ideal situation, I would say, for a seller in this situation is the short sale. It's much easier on you. It's much easier on your credit rating. And it's much easier to come back later on and buy another property.
And bottom line, we're going to have some mortgage resets later this year, and we've also got these rising delinquencies. So tell you what, we need to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about some of our featured properties of the week. You're definitely going to want to stay tuned to these because we're going to bring you some hot properties.